Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks College. Not college. It's a Sunday stream of consciousness. What are we talking about, Keith? Good to have you with us here on the McGrath Podcast Network. Just trying to make sure we're going live on Facebook. It looks like we finally are. Great to have you with us all on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, any place you watch us. You always see the groups scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Our favorite groups. There's dozens and dozens more that allow us to share the show and get the 10,000 views we get a week now. Great job. Thank you so much, guys, for all of that input. Again, check out the McGrath Podcast Network. Lots of great shows, including the Sunday morning roundtable, I call it, that we do, just finished up, and the unprofessional professional sports shows, another roundtable we do on Wednesdays. Sonia's got great shows. Bo's got great shows. Brian and James have great shows. Great stuff. Catch out Brian and James's new movie review show, too. They get into some old movies. They did Invasion of the Body Snatchers in their first effort. Quick shout out to those groups, some of those groups, John Gonzalez at Sports Authorities, Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, the Love for Baseball, Flo and Can over at Bottom Line Sports. They had their return to podcast, getting on their podcast live the other night, and I shared that to my pages. Hope you caught some of that. Great stuff. They do their main podcast on Let's Talk Sports, I believe, still, who's a good friend of this show and allows us to share on Facebook. And Ken Krause over at Golf Bud Sports of all sorts. And a quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Ralph does some wonderful stuff out of Ocean City, Maryland. Got some news about new radio show as well. So check him out, specifically the Sports Corner, I think still from 4 to 6 p.m. Tuesdays. He does that with Smoking Jim Frazier. And anybody who joins us who wants to, and JB's with us. Good morning, JB. Check out JB's stuff over on YouTube. Does some great interviews. I'm sure he's got a new one lined up here in the near future, which he can certainly share with us. Guys, lots to chat about. We can talk about the WBC, which is, there's been some good games. Australia's given Japan all they can handle here today. At one point here in this game, at one point in this game through the tournament, they had given up just one earned run, Australia, in 23 innings. They're now behind, I believe, 4-3, although suddenly the game's over. Maybe the game got finished up while I was getting ready to start the show. Did this game go final? Does anybody know if this game went final? I think it might have. Let's just see real quick. Australia did give them everything they could handle, though, I can tell you that. And it is now final 4-3. Australia did make a run. They're ahead 2-0. No, I'm sorry, 1-0 in this game through like 6 innings. Japan broke through, went ahead 4-1. Australia cut it to 2. Must have been the 9th inning. I thought I was watching the 8th inning as we were doing the previous show. So good showing by Australia. They're 2-1. A good chance to move into move out of the pool play, and a lot of fun there. USA's played well, led by Skubal. Interesting, the first 2 hitters for Brazil, the first hitter for Brazil and first hitter for Brittany. Last night both hit home runs off of Webb and Skubal, but they both settled down to pitch well. USA, interesting. These teams stayed with the U.S., and you see this through this tournament. Some of the teams that are weaker, the Netherlands had a win over Nicaragua, a walk-off the other day, but some of these teams, Britain has stayed with some teams. Brazil stayed with the U.S. for a while. It was 8-5, I think, in the 7th inning the other night. But when they get deeper into these bullpens, because you guys are only pitching 1 inning, 2 innings, it's a 65 pitch max, remember. Once you get deeper into these bullpens with some of these lower tier countries, I don't mean any disrespect, it gets harder. And that's where the U.S., I think, wakes up, and Japan and Korea. I mean, so far, but we'll get into it a little bit. We'll look at the records in pool play. You've got the USA. Well, Japan's now 3-0. The USA, Puerto Rico, Venezuela are all 2-0. At Australia falls to 2-1 today. So some fun stuff there. Jerks and Pro Fair banned by the Atlanta. We can get into that conversation. as well as the WBC if you like. If there's other news in baseball, we can certainly talk about it. Football, lots of news. Max Crosby traded to the Ravens for 2 first-round draft picks. We can talk about the winners and losers there. Lots of players released, some big trades, other trades. DJ Moore trade, the McDuffie trade, the Montgomery trade, some great big trades and some big names released. Stephon Diggs, Kyler Murray, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones. We can talk about the quarterback situations. There's, 6 or 7 that are open, and there's more quarterbacks available via for agents and trade than there are jobs probably. The question is whether you'd even want any of these guys and who's the best fit. If you're looking to win now, you're in Minnesota, who's the best fit to win now? Kyler Murray? Kirk Cousins? If you're looking for the long-term future and maybe looking for the next player that's going to turn things around, like Darnold, like Sam Darnold, maybe Kyler Murray's worth the shot. And there's some other guys to talk about as well. In college basketball, Duke beat UNC yesterday, revenge game. They finished the regular season with 2 losses. What a great job John Shire's done there. BYU bounces back with a big win against Texas Tech. UConn with a huge loss against a bad Marquette team this year may have cost themselves the number 1 seed. We'll see. St. John's wins the Big East for the 2nd year in a row. First time ever they've had back-to-back championships in the Big East. George Mason beats St. Louis, which might hurt their at-large bid if they were not to win the A-10. Miami of Ohio, who I went off on the disrespect this team's getting, is now 31-0 with an overtime win against Ohio the other night. They're winning close games, but they're winning. This team's undefeated. It's a great story. They're in the tournament now, so I'll kind of relax a little bit. I don't think they need to win their conference tournament because they're not even a favorite to win their own conference. It's a conference tournament. It's Akron. But I think there's major disrespect there, and Travis Steele's done a great job there. And I like what I see. LIU and Tennessee State are the first teams to puncture tickets into the NCAA tournament with conference wins. There'll be a few more today and tomorrow. And then the big conferences get involved in their conference tournaments this week. NBA, Jason Tatum is back for the Celtics. What does that do for their chances? Already playing good basketball. How will he gel now with Brown and White will be the interesting thing. He had a good game yesterday, I think, in a comeback, in his comeback. Porzingis back for the Warriors, and some interesting stuff comes out of the Trump committee Friday. And at the risk of turning this into something I don't want it to be, I would like to get into a real discussion if we get to that point about this. And it was about the future of college sports. And some of these guys, I'm not sure I'm sold on Nick Saban's comments to open it. And why is there no student athlete, which I use the term loosely, representation on this committee? And maybe nothing comes of this anyway. I really don't want the government involved in college sports. But interesting. I don't know if anything will come out of this. He says there's an executive order coming, and lawsuits will follow that. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens. But lots to talk about. Patriots make a trade too, by the way, in football. I didn't get into that. The Patriots traded their center Bradbury to the Bears, whose center just retired. This will allow them to move Jacob Wilson to his natural position. He was their 3rd-round draft pick last year. Get moved to his natural center position. He played mostly guard last year. So anyway, good morning to JB again. Good morning to CA. I know that we could have a late arriving crowd today as the clocks got turned ahead. So if you're just getting up and you're wondering why we're on at 7 or 8, it's actually 9. I've had years where that's been a problem. It's easier now when the clocks all change on their own, right? Your phone changes. If you don't have clocks that change, it can be a problem. But anyway, lots to talk about. It's your guys' show, though. So what say you, as we say on this show? What say you? I'll start, I guess, with the WBC. And again, we can talk NFL because there's lots of NFL news we're certainly going to talk about in these 2 hours. And I'm sure some college basketball and even the NBA. I don't think Jason Tatum, I'm going to be all over the place because it's a Sunday stream of consciousness. Jason Tatum getting back to the Celtics. I mean, there's articles out there that it'll destroy the chemistry because they've been playing really good basketball the last couple of months. To get to second, I think, in the East. But he's a great player. If this was a trade edition, a trade deadline edition, we'd have to say he's the best player anybody acquired at the trade deadline. And I would say it gives the Celtics a much better chance to win the NBA championship with Jason Tatum in that lineup. And now with that said, it also gives another team a chance to beat the Pistons so the Knicks don't have to face them in the East. Because I right now don't see the Knicks. That happened last year. I know they didn't have a good regular season against the Pistons, and they beat them in the playoffs. But this year they've been not just losing. They've been getting pounded. Closest game was 15 or 16 points and lost by an average of 28 points a game to the Pistons this year. Want to avoid them if possible. Back to baseball, though. The WBC. We were talking about the standings. I like the other one better. I got two different things open here. Hold on. Should I close that? I might have closed it. Oh, there it is. Thank you. So the standings right now, as we look at pool play, in Pool A, which has been played in San Juan, Puerto Rico, no surprise, 2-0. I would said they were the favorite coming out of there. Canada and Cuba have only played one game. They're 1-0 each. It's interesting. They played one game, and Chinese Taipei and Chesney has played 4. So the scheduling is really kind of odd here for this tournament. But anyway, they're both 1-0. Panama 0-2 and Colombia 0-2. The USA in Pool B out of Houston 2-0. Italy playing pretty good baseball, actually, 1-0. Mexico 1-0. I would say Mexico the second seed to come, or second favorite to come out of there. Great Britain and Brazil both 0-2. Japan moves to 4-0 now, or 3-0, sorry, after this win. Australia falls to 2-1. The Chinese Taipei 2-2, and it's going to come down to them in Australia, and Korea still alive. So you may see the runner, the tiebreaker, come into play in Pool C here in Tokyo, because I think there's a very good chance that Australia, Chinese Taipei, and Korea all finish tied. And you may see, or at least 2 of those teams, maybe all 3. If that were to happen, I guess somebody would have to beat Japan, which probably won't happen. I think Korea played Japan yesterday, right? So we'll see. That pool play will wrap up here in a few days. In Miami, they're playing a Pool D, Venezuela 2-0, Dominican Republic 1-0. They're the 2 favorites there. The Netherlands with a fun walk-off the other day are 1-1 with Israel with no wins, and Nicaragua 0-2. Nicaragua managed, by the way, by Dusty Baker. Amazing. JB says, amazing to think the WBC game, USA sits Gunner stats. Starts with, I think is what he means here. Game 2 flips and Gunner goes 4 for 4. Tough spot for DeRosa. Interesting spot to be in, right? There's some good players that have to sit on these teams. We've seen it in center field. We've seen it at shortstop. Where else? The other positions, I guess, have been pretty steady. Maybe it was second base. Someplace else has been a little bit. They've jumped the lineup or jumbled the lineup the 2 games that they've played. Lots of walks. I mean, I think the USA's got roughly 26 or 27 walks in 2 games. 17 walks by Brazil the other night. I mean, I know this wasn't bad umpiring. This is just bad pitching. So, I mean, it's some of the things to take away, for the U.S., Gunner going 4 for 4 the other day, a big catalyst there. Judge got them off to a big start in game 1 with a home run. He's played pretty well. Schwarber with a big home run yesterday. The pitching's been very good. Skubal and Webb have been very good. And the USA is just much, much deeper. When we get into later part of these games, even the middle to late part of these games, the USA depth on this pitching staff is, and probably Japan later on, is going to come into play or has come into play and will continue to do so as these, again, lesser nations, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, just don't have the depth. And these guys aren't going to go 6 innings, so. Hello, Chris. How are you? Remembers past baseball classics, sorry. Players had mist sprays from the dugout, similar to the broccoli section. Must be where they were playing. I'm sure it was hot, right? You see that in the NFL in early season games or exhibition games in August. These mist stations going to keep the players cool. But I'm sure you probably saw those. I'm guessing that was going on in San Juan, maybe Miami too. Temperature has been that hot in Florida that I'm aware of, and Houston's inside. So I'm guessing that was probably Puerto Rico where you saw that happening. Right now, I mean, to me, Pool A's Puerto Rico was the class of that pool anyway, and Canada might have a shot at coming out of there. I thought Cuba and Colombia would be fighting it out for that second spot. We'll see. Obviously, in Pool B, USA is going to be favored. It should be a shoo-in. And I think it'll come down to Mexico and Italy. I think Mexico wins out, but Italy's playing better than you would expect. Japan will obviously come out of Pool C, and then we could have tiebreaker, which is run differential, I believe, decide that. And then Miami, you're going to have, I think, easily Venezuela. Why don't I say that word right ever? And the Dominican come out of there. So we'll see how that goes. We have a text. I have an exclusive offer from Mike's. Always looking to see if there's somebody having issues with the show or anything. So anyway, some exciting stuff, I think. Skubal, by the way, pitched last night and has left the team, gone back to this part I don't like. I mean, this is team competition, and I really wish they would stay with the team the 2 weeks. I mean, whatever workouts he's going to do with Detroit, and he's not going to pitch again, I guess, at the WBC. Why? I don't really know. He would have got another start. I mean, if he'd wanted one. So this part of this is the part that I don't like, where teams are going to leave. They're not. You got to come back if they make the championship and be there for the championship celebration. I don't know. Again, it's not like he's going far. He's only in Houston. He's not traveling halfway around the world. And I believe the later rounds are being played where Miami, I think, and where else? I think 2 places. What do you got here, Chris? Canada thumped Slovakia in sledge hockey. Slovakia played well, but had a crap. That was for the gold medal, I believe, too, Chris. We had Paul Rosen on, I don't know, a year or so ago, maybe a year and a half ago, who was a gold medalist in sledge hockey as goalie. And it is something that we want to shine some light on. The Paralympics are really, really competitive, good competitive sports, right? For guys and girls. Guys and women, that have, some sort of disability that they can't compete on the upper levels. But these guys are great, great athletes, man. And there's some great stuff going on. The hockey team has been, the Canadian Hockey League has been pretty good in this competition, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, for a number of years. So good stuff from you. But we haven't talked a lot of hockey. We can certainly talk hockey if you guys want, for sure. Good morning, Rick. Good to have you with us. about that. I was playing around here and I turned my mic off somehow. Anyway, Rick, I was talking about things that are newsworthy in your division. Bradbury getting signed or traded to Chicago being one of them. Montgomery getting traded away from the Lions to the Texans. The Texans continue to want to chase, it seems, running backs who are used up. Montgomery had a decent year last year. He's seen his carries go down in Detroit with the emergence of Jahmyr Gibbs. Texas don't give up a lot, but this is like 3 years in a row now they've chased guys that are past their prime. Joe Mixon, I think, served them well maybe for 1 year. Still wasn't the player he was in Cincinnati. They did the same thing with Nick Chubb last year. And now they got Montgomery with a lot of miles on him for an NFL running back. And I don't think this helps that Texans team that much. I mean, I guess it's worth a flyer, but you took a flyer 2 years in a row. Maybe it's time to figure something out to help CJ Stroud in that offense and put together a real running game that's a threat and allows them to get back to doing what they were doing 3 years ago when they were so successful. Joe Mixon had a good year that year. I'll give you that. But again, that's all he had. I vision you unloading with profanity when you turned your mic off. I don't necessarily turn off my mic for that. Rick, the other thing, one of the other big pieces of news, and it's going to be interesting to see what some of these teams do at the quarterback position with some of the guys that are out there. But the Vikings have given all these signals that J.J. McCarthy is not their guy, at least for now, that they want somebody to come in there and compete. Kirk Cousins has a history, but does he have anything left in the tank to go 18 games, 17 games in the playoffs? I don't know. I mean, if you bring Kirk Cousins in, you're likely playing J.J. McCarthy at some point. Aaron Rodgers. And the interesting thing to me is that's one way they can go. The other two ways they could go, and I guess there's multiple ways. But the guys most prominently mentioned, Rodgers, who, if you're Windows this year and you say, we got to win now, which again, windows aren't open. And again, I'm not saying, you're preoccupied with this, Rick. We talk about windows a lot, right? The Vikings window's not staying open forever. So if you want to win now, Aaron, and I know you hate Aaron Rodgers. I'm not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. I'm not sure what he's got left in the tank, but he might be the best chance or the best option for this year if you want to win this year. The most talented guy, but he's a head case, is Kyler Murray. I know people say he doesn't fit Kevin O'Connell's system because he moves around the pocket and whatnot. Listen, Kevin O'Connell's a great coach, a great quarterback coach. There's no doubt in my mind Kyler Murray would be a far better player playing for Kevin O'Connell than he was with the Cardinals. It's up to him how good he can be. But he might fit better with a team that's not ready to win but wants to see what they have for the future. The Dolphins, the Jets. Two teams we've heard a lot about. But you got a lot of teams looking for quarterbacks, right? You got the Jets, you got the Dolphins, you got the Steelers, you got the Colts. Maybe. Depends on what happens with Daniel Jones. They did tag him, but it's transitional. So if he gets a better offer somewhere, they'd have to match it. Or if he gets an offer somewhere, they'd have to match it. The Raiders, I still think they're going to bring in a veteran quarterback. They're going to draft Mendoza, most likely. I don't think he's ready to play day one. They've released Geno Smith. They're going to be looking for quarterbacks. The Vikings, who I mentioned. The Cardinals. Do I think Jacoby Brissett's the answer there? No, and I don't think they do either. And the quarterbacks that are available, again, through free agency, you've got Jones, transitional tag, Cousins, Rodgers, Malik Willis, Geno now, Kyler Murray, likely Tua will be available. And if you can get Murray and I know Tua, we don't look at. He's played a handful of games in the cold weather. Hasn't played well. If he played there all the time, there's so many domes and whatnot. I don't think playing in the north is going to be that big a deal. I don't think Tua is that good. I don't think it's got anything to do with where he plays. But again, Tua and if you're looking for lightning in a bottle, the next Sam Darnold, you're going to be looking at Tua and you're going to be looking at Murray, and you're not going to have to pay him a lot because they're on big contracts that are going to be getting paid off by other teams. But you got Malik Willis. Willis has kind of fallen under the radar. He was a hot name when he was playing, 3 or 4 games when Love was hurt late in the year. And he's kind of fallen back now, as we've talked about Rodgers and Cousins and Jones and who else did I say? Now Kyler Murray, Cousins. I think I said Cousins. But Malik Willis is probably going to get I'm not saying he should get a starting job somewhere. I don't think you want to bring him in and hand him the reins to the team. I don't think that's the way to go. He played a couple of really good games. We've seen this before. Guys will be available in trades. Rattler. Maybe Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones will stay in San Francisco. Andy Dalton. Davis Mills has been talked about being available. Can't read that name. But look, there's lots of guys available here. So, the cap's gone up to $301 million. There's some interesting free agents available. Legal tampering starts tomorrow. One of my favorite terms in all of sports, legal tampering. They've been tampering with these guys since the season ended. Because when Wednesday comes, it is Wednesday, I think, the 11th, right? When Wednesday comes, or Tuesday comes, when is it? Don't I have a calendar here? Here we go. Yeah, the 11th is Wednesday. When Wednesday comes, we're going to see 100 guys sign in an hour. So they haven't been talking to those guys just only 3 days? Yeah, we're already making trades. You can't even make trades legally right now. We've got Max Crosby traded for 2 first-round picks. Which is going to be more impactful? Max Crosby to the Ravens or McDuffie to the Rams? McDuffie's, I would think, one of the top 3 cornerbacks in football. Putting on that Rams defense. Now, we don't know, again, we don't always know the big plans. We talked about this a couple of times. I talked about it with Jack. We've talked about it on the roundtable shows. When you're trading draft picks for established players like Max Crosby and McDuffie, we have no idea who wins or loses these trades for a couple of years probably, because we don't know what the master plan is now for the Chiefs, for instance. I'll use the Chiefs. They traded McDuffie, who's one of the best cornerbacks in football, for picks. We don't know what the rest of their plan is. They could use those picks to be moving up higher in the draft. They got a lot of holes to fill. They need wide receivers. They need offensive linemen. They probably could use a running back. They're in play for Kenneth Walker. Free agency. We don't know what they're going to do in free agency. So, the Bears lose when they trade DJ Moore? Don't know. I don't know until they see what other moves they make. I mean, as we say now, Buffalo looks like they got the better end of that deal, assuming DJ Moore can turn the clock back. We don't always know. We make snap decisions, right? I can go find a grade on every one of these trades. I can't grade them. No, your window's fine. And I'm not asking you to apologize. I use this. We all talk about windows and whatnot. I only said that because everybody's got a window. You're absolutely right. Just debatable about when those windows are open and when they're closing and how quickly they're closing. The Vikings have a window like anybody else, and I think they're in win now mode. That's why I mention it. So again, I think they need to go out and get the best quarterback they can. And I think you think that's Kirk Cousins, Rick. I don't want to speak for you. I think you've said that a couple times. And I could be misremembering that Kirk Cousins is the best guy to say, we're going to go win this year. Except he has never won. I mean, I get it. There's familiarity there. I like Kirk Cousins. I think he might have a little bit left in the tank. I think he will get injured at some point. And I hate to say it, man, but I think Rodgers, and possibly crazy as it sounds, and I know this is going to kill you if it's either Rodgers or Kyler Murray. I think if they want to win this year, which I think all indications are they do, I think one of those guys is a better bet than Cousins. I just do. Nobody else on this list. I've heard talk about Malik Willis. Again, I don't have a body of work like I have with all these other guys. And Kyler Murray, I know there's a lot of negative. But again, if I'm the Vikings, I trust in my coach, who's a quarterback whisperer. The guy is really, really good. And I think Kyler Murray has never had that type of guy. Clint Kingsbury is not freaking Kevin O'Connell, okay? It's just not. I missed your UNLV comment here. Chris, UNLV lost 89-86. It was they. I'm trying to read if there's sarcasm in that or not, because 89-86 isn't the best defensive effort necessarily in college basketball. But I know you're a big UNLV fan, which we've determined over the years, and even found out the genesis of that, Chris, which I appreciate you sharing with us. But the only way UNLV is making the NCAA tournament, unfortunately for them, is to win the Mountain West tournament. And I'm not going to tell you they can't do it. Bradbury wasn't the worst part of that offensive line. He was solid, but they wanted to get Jacob Wilson. They moved him basically to get Jacob Wilson in his natural position of center. He played at guard mostly last year. They drafted him in the third round as a center, and the plan was to move him into that position eventually. So this was more, they probably save a little cap money, and Bradbury's a solid player. He's not David Andrews. Dave Andrews is a great player for the Patriots for a long. Damn woodpecker's back. Was a great player for a long time. He's not him. But I think the Bears, he'll play adequately for the Bears. Christian Vasquez was signed. He was the last free agent catcher. You can never have too much catching. I think he's playing somewhere. He might be playing for Mexico. He's playing for somebody, I think, not Mexico. I think he's playing for somebody in the WBC. So he's in shape. And Vasquez is, he's a decent pitcher or catcher. Who did he sign with, Chris? I don't even know. I give you a little better read on what I think of that signing if I know where he signed. So let's take a quick look. Christian Vasquez. Yeah, he's playing for Puerto Rico. Where did he sign? Astros. A minor league deal. So they're under I don't think they're under any obligation to keep him in the majors. But he's a veteran player. He had some decent years with the Red Sox, and he's a competent major league catcher. He's not going to, alone turn your team around, but I think a good solid bench player for the Astros. Hello, Michael Gott. Good to have you here in the UK. Your Brits gave the U.S. a scare the other night for 6 innings or so, until they got into the bullpens, deep into the bullpens, as I mentioned earlier. So, congrats to them. They played better. Got some good players. Jazz Chisholm is playing on that team. Couple minor league players. One of the great matchups, and it was actually the Brazil game for USA the other day. This 17-year-old kid from Brazil coming in and matching up with Aaron Judge. Got him to ground into a double play. That kid is like 6'5". I don't know if he's been drafted yet or not. He had to finish like his high school exams before he could go compete here. So that was one of the more interesting stories. But it's good to see the Brits are playing better, and they're keeping the letters on their uniforms, which I guess is a step in the right direction as well. Oh, Carlos, good to have you with us. I think you mean Anthony Richards' son, right? I didn't mention him as available quarterbacks. He's available in a trade. I got to tell you, you really got to be – I would not be giving him – I wouldn't be giving up much for him. I mean, what are you going to trade for him? I mean, think about guys. Mac Jones had more success in this league than Anthony Richardson, and he got traded for a 6th-round draft pick. So he's been given the opportunity by the Colts to shop himself. And I'm assuming that's who you're talking about. Never was a big fan. I watched him, as I told you, in this QB1, this show that used to be on following high school seniors as they made their decisions about where to go to school. And we'd see him play in college. And the kid, he's athletic. Athletically, he's a freak, and that's why he got drafted. But he played very little in college, got hurt a lot. Same thing in high school. He didn't play that much. He is really going to be somebody's going to pick him up just because of the natural talent. But he has not shown any proclivity to be able to lead an NFL team. So if I'm looking for a reclamation project, I'm going for Kyler Murray or even Tua before I'm going for Anthony Richardson. Just my opinion, of course. Much love there for them there, woodpeckers. They're fine, but you know what? I had a problem. I'm fine when they're out back here in the trees, but I had them, the fake wood. It's not, I don't even know what you call it. It's not Trex. It's what our front porch, all the columns there are made out of this. It's not, I don't even think it's a fake wood. It's almost like a polymer. It's a hard plastic, but they can freaking poke holes in it or dig holes in it or burrow holes in it, whatever the hell you call what a woodpecker does. And I had one that made a home there last year, so I had to fill it in with, caulk it in, paint it over. So hope he doesn't come back, that guy. I got rid of him last year I put a chimes up there. I hung chimes up on the side of that pole where he liked to go, and I got rid of him. But I don't mind the woodpeckers so much. You're now at the same stage as former Baltimore Oriole and San Francisco Giant Joe Carter. He celebrated yesterday by the numbers. If Jim Rice is all over here, then Joe should be too. Oh boy, I don't know about that. Let me take a look. I will tell you this. Before I even pull up the overall numbers, and I can't believe they're going to be that close, but maybe you're right, Chris. But when I look at some individual seasons, Jim Rice, much better player than Joe Carter. Joe Carter, and that's not to say Joe Carter wasn't a good player. I'm going to pull up the baseball reference since you brought me down this road. I'm going to compare the two of them. Joe Carter. And I know we're just looking at numbers, right? But remember, Rice won some MVPs as well. So let me look at Joe Carter's stats. Overall, 396 home runs. I'm going to guess Rice isn't too far above that, in the fours, before I look at his numbers. 1,445 RBIs. That's more than I thought. Batting average hurts him, 259. His OPS 771. So 306 on base percentage, not good at all either, by the way. MVP voting, he finished in the top 10 once. I'm sorry, top 10 three times. The top 20. Boy. Joe Carter never gets mentioned. I'm starting to rethink this. 8 times he was in the top 20. 3 times in the top 10. 4 times an all-star. That's, boy, I'll tell you what. It's a good call, Chris. 380 for Jim Rice, 382, 451. How many years did they play? 16. They played the same number of years. Anyway, where was I? 382, 1451, almost 300, 298 the batting average. Big difference here because we're 854 OPS, so a lot more doubles. We got doubles. 373 for. Man, Carter hit more doubles too. He must have walked a lot less. 352 on base percentage, 854. The individual stuff, he obviously won MVP in 1978, edged out Ron Guidry, who had that great pitching season. He was a rookie, second in the Rookie of the Year, finishing a top 10 MVP 4 out of 5 years there in the 70s. Boy, the other top 4. So he got 5, 6. He's got 6 top 10 MVP, less top 20. So he's got more. Boy, it's close. It's close. Jim Rice is in the Hall of Fame. Joe Carter doesn't even get brought up. That's not a bad comparison. Something that when we talk about this more, Chris, keep this on top of my my mind here, because this is an interesting comment. Joe Carter versus Jim Rice. Their numbers, power numbers, are virtually the same. Batting average easily goes to batting average, all the composite numbers, right? Batting average, on base percentage, and in turn, OPS go to Rice by far. Pretty close. Get me there. Woody Woodpecker might be up for a coaching job. You know what? Which league? I don't know what Woody Woodpecker excelled in. By the way, speaking of coaches, I've talked about it on some other shows this week, but I want to acknowledge the passing of Lou Holtz. We didn't get a chance to talk about it in any length, and it's another topic we can get into today, and where Lou Holtz might rank in the history of great coaches. I think he's one of the better coaches of the modern era. Coached at William and Mary, North Carolina State, turned those programs from nothing into something. Went to the Jets. That was a miserable failure, and he knows it was a bad fit, and kind of knew, I think, from about the day he got there. Came back, went to Arkansas, and continued the tradition that Frank Broyles had instilled at Arkansas. I think he took over directly from Frank Broyles, if I'm not mistaken, and Frank Broyles hired him. Had some really good teams there. Finished as high as, I think, second or third in the country one year when they beat, I think, Oklahoma in a Orange Bowl. Ended up going to Minnesota when he had a falling out with Frank Broyles. Coached a couple of years, then got the Notre Dame job and took over Notre Dame when they were not in a good place. 4 years of Jerry Faust, and they weren't getting recruits. And he turned that around, and listen, they won their last national championship under Lou Holtz, and were in the conversation every year for 6 or 7 years after that. Finished second in the country once. If they'd won an Orange Bowl and beat Colorado, they'd have won another one. Again, ifs are big, right? But Lou Holtz is one of the great coaches in the country. Then he leaves Notre Dame under his own, thinking he wasn't going to coach again, but got the itch and went back to South Carolina, team that had won 1 game before he got there, won 0 games in his first year, and he started putting them in bowl games year after year. Not winning national championships, not competing for national championships, but did a great job. And Lou Holtz will go down as one of the great coaches of the modern era in my mind. And by the way, great motivational speaker as well. There's some clips I could play of Lou Holtz, and they're coaches at they're little snippets of speeches that every coach should be playing to their players. Plus, he was a funny guy. One of his funniest lines is, there's a debate if there's a debate between who's your best friend, your wife or your dog, all you need to do is take both of them, lock them in the trunk of your car for 2 hours, and when you open it, see which one is happy to see you. Eloy Jimenez and Jason Sanchez slugging it out for the vacant spot left by Santander, both having good springs. Love me a good battle for the DH. That's for, by the way, I'm glad you didn't say the hole left by Santander, because Santander played awful for Toronto last year. So, Toronto's going to be very good in that East, and we'll get into our predictions here in another few weeks on the baseball, on the MLB update, and even here we'll talk about some of those predictions. But the American League East is going to be very, very tough. And the Yankees, I think, right now, early season health is going to be a big issue for them, and how they get out of the box. But I mean, I think they had the third best winner in that division, maybe fourth. Toronto had a better winter. Red Sox and the Orioles, fourth they finished. They finished ahead of the Rays. Apparently, you can also hang up old CD discs too. Works for pesky cats. I think I read that CD disc. There's also some things you can buy, like owls and hawks, I guess, and you can hang them. They're like mobiles. You can hang out. I didn't really have a way to hang them. I mean, I put a hook in the thing and hung that wind chimes there, which are still hanging there, by the way. My wife keeps getting on me to get them out of here. So I think woodpeckers do. I think it would work with woodpeckers. Hello, Neil. How are you? Newell Holtz's Arkansas career was definitely underrated. Oh, it's Oklahoma he beat. Did I say Oklahoma? I think I said Oklahoma. And if we look at, I should have brought up Lou Holtz's stuff before, because we haven't had a chance to talk about it. Let's look at those Arkansas years real quick. And again, you're an SEC guy and a South Carolina guy, so he came to your team, and they were crap at the time, right? I don't think there's any question about that. But when he was at Arkansas, this team went 11-1 his first year and won that Orange Bowl. Finished third in the country his first year at Arkansas after that horrible season in New York. That's 1977. He goes 9-2 and wins a Fiesta Bowl. He goes 10-2 and wins a Sugar Bowl. 7-5 at down year, wins a Hall of Fame Bowl. 8-4, 9-2, 6-5, has a little falling out with Frank Broyles and leaves and goes to Minnesota, where he wasn't great, but this team wasn't any good either. They went 4-7, 6-5. He gets a Notre Dame job, and in 3 years they win the national championship. And at South Carolina, Neal's school, 0-11 his first year, 8-4 they go to the Outback Bowl and win the second year, 9-3. Remember, this is the SEC. Wins the Outback Bowl the second year again. Then things kind of revert to 5-7, 5-7, 6-5. But overall, considering where South Carolina stood in a college football map at the time, great job by Lou Holtz. Michael Gott has a question about the college national championship. Wasn't it that they used to have a natty different bowls each year, like the Orange Bowl or Sugar Bowl, or is that still the case? They do move the national championship game around. No, I'm sorry. They did used to. In the old BCS, they did move it around to the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, and the Sugar Bowl. After the BCS, and when they went to, even maybe before the BCS was done, they had a national championship game that was played after all those bowl games. So those bowls now, Neil, are part of the semifinals. They're part of the quarterfinals and the semifinals. And they rotate each year who's getting a semifinal. For instance, even the Peach Bowl had a semifinal this year, I believe. So it's a rotating thing. Back in the day of the BCS, it would rotate where they played the national championship game. Yes. And before that, national championship could have been determined anywhere when the writers were determining it. Remember, and Neil, you may not, or I'm sorry, Michael, you may not know this or remember this, but before there was a playoff, whether it was 12 teams or 4 teams, we had the BCS, which was a computer-generated model that took the polls and other factors into consideration and ranked the teams. Nobody liked it. And before that, it was decided by the AP. It was the writers who would vote. And, the national championship game, you could win. If you were number 1 team in the country, went and won your bowl game, you were going to win the national championship. You could come from, Miami came from 4th or 5th in 1981 or 1982. I always mix that year up. When they beat Nebraska, they jumped 2 or 3 teams. So at that time, the writers determined it. Really wasn't one on the field. The bracket challenge. Thank you, Rick. Let's not forget, guys, we talked about the bracket challenge. I'm going to put it up right now. The college NCAA tournament bracket challenge for both the men and the women are up. You can go to the TGI Sports Talk and you can find it. I'll reshare it today so it gets to the top of the feeds. But I'll also put the brackets in here. This will be the first one I share here will be the men. Thank you for the reminder, Rick. If you guys could do this, go in there and then you guys can share this too. Invite friends and invite all your friends. Let's have a big crowd. Let's get at least 20 guys in there or bigger. I'm happy to go even bigger. So thank you, Rick. I'll come back to your comments here in just a second. That's going to be the link to the men's tournament. And then let me get to the women's tournament here. Oh, shoot. Hope that's the right one. Is that the right one? Brackets. Shoot. Is that the right one? Yeah, I think that's the right one. I mistakenly put up a second one that I hope I don't invite anybody to. Don't sign up. Don't sign for anything that says, oh, shoot. Now I don't know if I did the right one or not. Crap. Let me put up the women's one here. I think I got the right one. Oh, hold on. I'm not creating another group. Join. Where the heck? Jesus, I am making such a mess of this freaking thing. Can't get into my group. Here we go. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Believe me. I'm a little technology challenge. I hope to God I got the right thing for the men. Anyway, there's the women's as well. Get in that. You can get in now. The tournaments will be solid. A week from today, we'll have the Selection Sunday. We've already got 2 teams in, LIU, Tennessee State. We've got a few other teams that will play today. Who's playing today? See if I can tell you the games that are being played today. That will be determined. These are first round. We got semifinal, championship. Oh, that's a semifinal. Is this today? That's Monday. Quarterfinal, semifinal. The Missouri Valley Conference tournament final is today. Northern Iowa and UIC. The Big South final, High Point and Winthrop. High Point's had a really, really good season this year. So we're going to get some more qualifiers today. Navy will play BU in that's a semifinal game. Sorry about that. The Atlantic Sun Championship game, Queens University against Central Arkansas. That's a quarterfinal. Second round, semifinal, quarterfinal, semifinal. We're going to have lots of championship games before we chat again. So these are games being played today to determine The Summit League, North Dakota against North Dakota State. That one's just, I don't believe an NCAA entry, though. So those games will be played today. Championship games maybe tomorrow. Let's look at tomorrow. We got all to be determined. So Gonzaga gets, there's some weird, some of these leagues to protect the regular season champions and some of the better teams in the conference. Some of these teams have been moved automatically into the semifinals. Like Gonzaga didn't have to play any games. They're automatically in the semifinal of their league. There's other leagues where, I mean, depending on your record, you get moved along into the tournament and you start at different spots. Leagues trying to keep bids from being stolen, which we hope Miami doesn't have either. So anyway, check out those NCAA brackets, the women and the men. If there's anything wrong with that one, I haven't got in yet, so I'm going to get in with the one that I just sent. Let me go back. Let me make sure that's the right one. I got myself nervous now. You make it too easy to freaking create groups and so women. I don't want the women. I want the men, man. I'm going to assume that's the right one. Why can't I get back to the men? There's the men. I think this is the right one. I don't see anybody in either one, so nobody's made any mistakes. I haven't made any mistakes yet. Nobody else has either. Good morning, Matt. Good to have you with us, my friend. Always good to have you here. 1 second. I got to check something out on the ring here. Well, looks like company left. I get a chance to say goodbye. Good morning, Matt, out in Orange County, California. Good to have you with us. Neil says Holtz's career ended at South Carolina with a brawl with Clemson. I don't remember that, but I don't doubt it. Those are two teams that are, heated rivals, right? So you would remember better than I. So make sure you get in these tournament challenges, guys. There's a men and a women's. We're back to woodpeckers. You would think the synthetics would, maybe they're pissed off at them, right? I wouldn't even think they could burr a hole in these, or peck a hole in this stuff, but apparently they can, and they did. So, God bless them. Not going to hurt them. Guys are like, go out there, but first of all, try to hit a woodpecker with a shovel. It ain't going to happen. I'm not killing a bird because he's bothering my house. Bees, insects. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to kill you. Hang up Paul's picture. Paul Spada. And back of me where you want it. It's funny. This one above me here, right? You can see where my thumb is under the on air. Somebody I used to work with, Kathleen, if you're watching, I apologize for telling this story. That picture was actually given to me by my staff when I was still working. For 1 year, for my birthday, and I think I told this story in the show, but some of you may not know it. For 1 year for my birthday, my wife bought me a plot of land in Scotland. 1 foot by 1 foot plot of land, and with it came a lordship. I have hung up, actually right below the picture, you see where my thumb is my declaration of my lordship. So anyway, we were in a meeting one day, and that picture was on the wall, and she says, is that a picture of your mom? No, it's a picture of me and my royalty regala. Whatever. Regaling in my royalty, whatever. English is not even my first language. SEC in Texas in the women's final. I think Dawn Staley's the best. Dawn Staley's done a great job at absolutely done a great job, Neil, at South Carolina this year and every year. By the way, really good documentary on. I'm rooting for Danny's UCLA Bruins, by the way, but a great documentary on Gino Auriemma and his UConn Husky women. I think it's on Netflix, I think. Really good documentary on his time there. But at the top of the women, in the men, I could say there's, I swear to God, 16 teams that could win this tournament. Maybe I'll whittle that number down this week when we get on the college sports huddle. I don't know. But women, it always seems to come down to, it's UConn, UCLA, South Carolina, Texas, LSU, and Kim Mularkey's obviously going to be in play. I guess Vanderbilt might be a newer name in there. Oklahoma, we don't see all the time. Iowa, we see a lot. TCU, we've seen a lot through the years. Baylor's a team that's not, they're 20th this year, but yeah, it does. You don't have the sense. And again, I don't follow the women as closely. I'm sorry. I just don't. But we do try to keep track of it, and because we want to have conversations like this sometimes. But Neil obviously is a big South Carolina fan, and has the pulse on all of the sports programs there, and that's very admirable. But South Carolina, Dawn Staley's done a great job. And I feel kind of bad that Dawn Staley, I don't keep wanting to call her Kim. Dawn Staley got brought into this whole, ridiculously into this Knicks coaching search last year. Listen, if a woman's going to coach a men's basketball team, Dawn Staley probably could do that job. I don't think you go from coaching the NCAA women to coaching the New York Knicks, though. I mean, maybe I'd like to see a woman get a chance to coach men in college basketball. I think that'd be interesting. I do think there'll be a woman coach in the NBA. I don't think the first one ought to be coming from the NCAA into New York City and the microscope that they'd be under there, because you're just setting them up to fail. So I'm not saying they can't do the job. I'm just saying you don't put them in a position to fail. That's all I'm saying. Excited about Manny Ramirez's son. He's played. He's done okay, I think, in this WBC. By the way, also trying to keep of Marquise Grissom's son. I don't know where he is right now. I don't think he's a pitcher, though. Is he? Wasn't? Maybe I'm thinking of. Maybe the guy I'm thinking of wasn't Marquise Grissom's son. Marquise Grissom was a great player, by the way. You talk about guys that were great players, unsung players. Marquise Grissom was a good one. Not a Hall of Famer. Who's his son? Isn't it Vaughn? No, junior. He's a professional baseball pitcher. There you go. He's in the Washington Nationals organization right now, drafted in 2022 out of Georgia Tech. That's how funny is that? I always thought Vaughn Grissom was his son. So he's still got, he's still in prospect territory, not going away anytime soon. Love and sex, not just not most in or on buildings. Yeah. So where do we like them? Where do you see insects that you like them? When you're camping? All right, Matt's in the hoops bracket. Men saying women, get in there, my friend. We're going to do both. Rick, by the way, has done very well. Rick, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago, you won both. And I think last year you were in contention for both. I think you might have faltered at the end. Try to remind me on that. Rick's been very good in these tournaments through the years. UConn women won't lose, won't even be challenged, says Danny. Danny, good morning. Danny, did you turn your clocks ahead this morning? You're a little late. We won't chastise you. I think, I think I'd like to see your Bruin girls, Bruin women. Jesus, I'm going to get letters, protesters. What was I saying? Um, sorry, I'm getting distracted. I'm keeping track of people coming and going in my house. Um, I like to see UCLA women do well, but I think it comes down to UConn and South Carolina myself. And I think South Carolina can give them a challenge. It's probably the only challenge UConn will see. And again, check out that documentary on Gino and the UConn women. Regaling in my royalty. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say, Chris. Regalia, I think was the word I was trying to say. I don't even know if it's a word. Regaling in my royalty, the Keith Engle story, now available on tape from KTEL Records. Maybe I'll send you that too, along with the promos. I gotta get working on these promos this week. I've kind of got them. I don't want them to be too long. I don't want to be too short. I want Chris to get his spotlight. We're going to get him because my goal is to get Chris F. Grave voiceover work. I know we can do it. Maybe he's not even interested in it. I don't know. Jeff Kent's kid is in the Yanks farm system. I love tracking the kids. I lose track of them sometimes, but because I didn't know Jeff Kent had a son in Major League Baseball or was in the Yankee system. So now we'll keep an eye out for him. Speaking of Hall of Famers, Jeff Kent going in this year. Chris had a great example. Danny, you weren't here yet. We like to compare Hall of Fame cases. And he brought up Joe Carter, who I have never even once in my life said Joe Carter belongs in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying he does right now. But when you look at his numbers and some other stuff, awards, and where he ended up in MVP voting and such, he compares very favorably with Jim Rice. I didn't look at those individual seasons, though. I mean, Rice never had seasons like Rice had in 77, 39, 114, 78, 46, 139. I mean, he had some really, really good seasons that Joe Carter is not going to come close to. I say that, and then he's got a 33, 108, 34, 119, 33, 121. You know, the Joe Carter, we talk about Stratomatic recently, too. And in the mystery leagues in Stratomatic, the Joe Carter cards, there's always 5 mysteries. You don't know what season you're getting of the 5 that are on the card. Never play well. Never. I don't know why. As good as UCLA has played, they can't play within 15 of UConn. That's so. That's Danny giving a realistic. And again, I'll be first to tell you, I have not watched these teams play a lot of basketball. I've seen, bits and pieces of a few women's games this year, but once football's over, man, I have to dive into men's basketball just to get myself caught up. And I really, the women are more, high level for me. So I'm going to go with Danny's opinion here. How about South Carolina then? Have you watched them two play? And I know Neil has. Correct to both. Sometime I remember stuff like crazy, stupid crap I shouldn't even remember. But other stuff, just apologies. No apologies necessary. Many sports, regardless of either gender, make many of us follow and care about around playoff times. No apologies necessary. Many sports, regardless of either gender, many of us only follow and care about around playoff time. Yeah, it's hard. And I will watch the women's college basketball tournament for sure. Joe Girardi's daughter plays basketball for Oklahoma State. Delano DeShield's daughter is with Notre Dame. More good stuff. I love looking at what the offspring of some great, well, Joe wasn't a great player. Joe was a good player. Am I kicking the cat down here? I was kicking something. Good stuff. I love following the careers of the offspring of any player. Caden Kent, he's a rookie in camp. Got to check them out. I'll do some research. Matt, thank you. And who brought that up first? Was that I don't know who brought that up first. Hang up Paul's picture. Oh, God, 10, 11. We still got about 50 minutes or so to go, 45 minutes, whatever. Very close call today with Japan and the WBC. Danny, you joined late. I was talking, just to recap some of the things we have talked about and can talk about. We were talking about the WBC. Australia gave Japan all they could handle today. Very impressive and surprising Australian team playing very good baseball, but Japan prevails. USA out 2-0. I kind of talked a little bit about some of my thoughts about the WBC. The walks and hit by pitches are just like crazy with some of these teams. The better teams, the USA, Japan, the Dominican. I think once they play some of these lesser teams in their pool play, they get into the later innings, middle innings, later innings. Things just get out of control. You've seen it twice now with the U.S. We talked. I talked a little bit about Jackson Profar's ban, jerks in Profar. Drew always get on me for. I don't know why I want to call him Jackson. I swear when he came up, they called him Jackson, but they didn't. Jerks in Profar. Banned for the entire season. So the Braves will miss him, and the Netherlands is missing him right now. His brother's playing on that team. We talked about NFL, the trades, Crosby. What is the most impactful trade we've seen so far? I think it's Crosby to the Ravens, because I think Jesse Minter wants to reestablish their identity as a nasty defensive force, and I think that's the biggest trade so far. DJ Moore, I'm still not sure. I did talk about the fact that we can't determine who wins or loses these trades when these draft picks, we don't know what they're going to do. They could do nothing. DJ Moore to the Bills. I think both teams could end up winning here, actually. Montgomery to the Texans. I don't get it. Again, this is, to me, the third reach in 3 years. Mixon, Chubb, and Montgomery. Montgomery may be better than the other two, but again, downside of his career. I don't think he's going to help establish that running game that they need to make C.J. Stroud and that offense more effective. And McDuffie, actually, to me, it might be between McDuffie and Crosby, two elite defensive players at their positions. I think he's going to have a huge effect on the Rams. Already a good defense. We talked about the quarterback, the teams needing quarterbacks and some of the guys available. I didn't go into great detail. We talked mostly about Minnesota. We could go down, and I will, depending on where our comments go here, into where I think some of these quarterbacks would best fit going forward. Some of the guys who are available in free agency and are either going to be released still or potentially traded. We talked about some of college basketball news. Duke beats up UConn yesterday. UNC yesterday. UConn gets beat by a bad Marquette team. St. John's wins the Big East for the second time in 2 years. The first time they've ever gone back-to-back in their history of the Big East. And BYU gets it back together. Probably got themselves, they were approaching bubble territory with this losing streak they've been on recently since they lost their star player. And a big win over Texas Tech yesterday probably secures their bid. And I think Miami of Ohio, who I went off about the other night on the Sports Huddle, I think they've secured their at-large bid no matter what, as they move to 31-0 with an overtime win over Ohio. Jason Tatum returning to Boston. Does it make them a favorite in the East? Depends on how he gels now it's become Jaylen Brown's team and White's team in some respects. So he's got to integrate himself back in there. So those are some of the things. You guys are welcome to talk about anything you want to talk about. Clemens, I know Clemens boys have played at some level. Cody's the one that stuck out the most. He's played in the majors with the Phillies, I believe, right? All of Rogers' boys' names start with a K for strikeouts. That's kind of cool too, by the way. I always thought that was pretty cool. You can think what you want about Roger Clemens, but two things stand out: naming your kids all with the first letter of K because you were a strikeout king. Pretty cool. And he belongs in a Hall of Fame. Sorry. I don't think you were with us on Wednesday, Neil, but I went off on this a lot, and I have recently. Manoah Howe cannot be left out of this tournament. I don't care if they lose in the first round of the MAC tournament, which you're not going to do. This team 31-1, 31-2 should not be left out. I want them to get to the tournament undefeated because, again, we talked about this the other night. They might go and they might get beat in the first round by 20 points. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. But this is a really good offensive team. They don't play any defense. I can tell you whoever they play in the first round of the tournament, bet the over. Because they've got a prolific offense, but they play very little defense. St. Louis might have hurt themselves yesterday with a relatively bad loss in the – I don't think they did. I think they're secure. Again, if they win the A10, they're going to be in, Neil. But who did they lose to yesterday? I got to go back to the top 25 or I'll never find them. I thought they had a bad loss yesterday. Not a bad. Well, they lost by 31 to George Mason, who's not a bad team. Had a really good start to the season. Has faltered a bit later in the season. Only 11-7 in the A10. 31-point loss, even on the road at this time of year, doesn't look good to the committee. I would suggest St. Louis get to the A10 championship game at a minimum to secure their worth. But I think. I do think they belong. Look, if you got 68 teams, how are they not among the 68 best teams in the country? And you're going to expand this tournament more. I don't want to go down this whole road again, but you're going to expand this tournament and just give me more Oklahoma States. I mean, still yesterday, I'm looking at Oklahoma State, and Auburn's probably out because they lost to Alabama yesterday. Finally, I think we can put the stake in the heart of Auburn. Man, Bruce Pearl should shut up. If Bruce Pearl is that high on Auburn, then he should have stayed there and coached them because his kid hasn't done a great job this year. But he's been denigrating Miami of Ohio for weeks now, wherever he's doing his television. I catch the reels, but I don't know where it's coming from. So it's going to be a good tournament, I think. Hurley fined 20. He got thrown out of the game. He says I can't tell. I watched the video over and over again. He says he didn't bump him. He did admit he got too close to him. He says he didn't bump him. You can make a decision for yourself. I mean, Hurley's a volatile guy, man. We don't see a ton of college coaches get thrown out of games. Bill Self got thrown out this week. Danny Hurley has been thrown out of numerous games. Bill Self, too. Kansas is another team, by the way. This team, they blow out Kansas State yesterday. I can see Kansas State losing in the first round. I can see them getting on a run and getting to the Final Four. That's what this tournament's going to look like. UConn, by the way, I think cost themselves the number one seed yesterday. If they win out, win the Big East tournament, maybe they put themselves back in that conversation, depending on what Michigan State does. In their conference tournaments. As far as the battle, and our number one seed's that important. If you're one or a two, I don't feel like it matters that much. Maybe not even 3 or 4. But right now, Duke's locked. Duke could lose. They don't need to win a tournament they're in. Arizona, I think, is locked. Michigan, they lose to Michigan State today. I think they open the door for Michigan State. Florida's already got the door open for them by UConn. So I think Michigan and UConn are the two teams in the most danger of losing their number one seeds. Because if Michigan loses to Michigan State. Michigan State runs the table in the Big Ten tournament. You know, I know they're number 8. I think they could still get a number 1 bid. Houston has a good run to Big 12. They could get there. Iowa State could get there. Florida, I think, is in right now today. And I think they need to do a little work in the Big 12 tournament, but I think they're the best bet to get a number 1 seed after Duke and Arizona. And then that fourth one's wide open with UConn, Iowa State, Houston, Michigan State. I guess Nebraska, if they were to make a run, which I don't expect them to do. They've faded a little bit here late in the season, still 25-4. And Texas Tech probably took themselves out yesterday as well. Just some good teams. Miami, Ohio is a new Loyola of Marymount. No D is an understatement, right? That's a great comparison, Danny. Those were great offensive teams that Paul Westhead had at Loyola Marymount, especially when Bo Kimball and the late great Hank Gathers had. I don't know. I've seen the video recently. I don't know if this is the anniversary of Hank Gathers' tragic death on the court at Loyola Marymount. I'm trying to think of the year that it happened. I feel like it was 90. Maybe it was 96. Was it 96? No. That couldn't be. It had to be before that. It had to be like 92. I just don't remember. Maybe it was 90. Yeah, maybe it's 35. Wow, 35 years ago. And then they had a little run in the tournament, if you remember. Loyola of Marymount. They beat a couple of teams. I think they got to the Elite 8, if I'm not mistaken. And Bo Kimball would shoot every one of his free throws. I think just the first free throw of every game left-handed in honor of his fallen friend, Hank Gathers. Bill, there's something going. I would not be surprised, and I wouldn't have been surprised the last couple of years. I think, Danny, to your tired point, I think he's had some health issues. He's had to step away from the team. I think he did for a couple of games this year when he was in the hospital, and he's had some health issues a couple of the last few years. And I would not be surprised to see Bill Self at any point in time step away from there. So. Great coach, had a great career, Hall of Fame coach for sure. But he does appear to be tired, and I know, and he's obviously had some health issues recently. He seems to have slimmed down too. Something I'm still focusing on and getting there. 1990. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Rick. My memory gets there eventually. 90 makes sense. I try to think back where I am in that year where I'm watching these games. It was exciting to see them win. I think they won 3 games, if I'm not mistaken, in that tournament. And Bo Kimball was tremendous, and he would shoot. I'm not wrong, right? He would shoot the very first free throw he took in every game left-handed. And I don't know that he missed any. Great. It was a great story and a sad story, obviously, a tragedy of Hank Gathers passing away. I think there's a great documentary somewhere, probably on ESPN, who I hate freaking giving plugs to, but so I saw a couple of great documentaries. I think it was on ESPN. It might have been a 30 for 30. It focused on Paul Westhead, and a lot of it was this tragedy at Loyola. Man, that guy could coach offense, right? Darren Peterson is adding to Bill Self's poor health. He said, Kansas has been very, very mercurial the last couple of seasons, maybe the last 4 or 5. I mean, they've been contenders every year, but they seem to have players that are very polarizing to Bill Self and to the fans. And it's an interesting team. Again, they've had some really big wins. They've had some really big losses. They've fallen out of the top 10, again, down to number 14. They've been up and down the standings like an elevator this late winter. I mean, they beat some of the top teams in the country in Houston and Iowa State. And then they go throw up stinkers, against Baylor and some other teams. So this team, I seriously, there's a bunch of these teams that you could see win in Kansas, very high among them. I can see them losing in the first round, and I can also see them in the Final Four. We forget that both Hank and Bo committed to USC. I remember that. That was part of that story. You've probably seen the same documentaries I've seen on this, Danny. Two great players. And if you don't know the Hank Gather story, please go take a look at it. He was a great player, had heart problems. They put him on medication, and he could not play with the same intensity on the drugs, and he decided to stop taking them. Cost him his life. Very sad, and it's all right in front of the home crowd at Loyola. I think it was at home. I think it was during the conference tournament, if I'm not mistaken, right? Danny or Rick or whoever remembers better than I do. How long, Self, you been at Arkansas? Wouldn't being in the public eye in the state of Kansas make you tired? Bill Self's been there a long time, by the way. If I'm not mistaken, he took over for Williams, Coach Williams, when he left to go back to Notre Dame. And I want to say he came from Evansville. Let me just check it out here. Oh, he coached Illinois. I didn't realize that. Oh, Tulsa, who I was thinking of. So he coached Oral Roberts. He went to Tulsa. 32-5 his last year in Tulsa, by the way. Made the NCAA tournament. Went to Illinois. 3 tremendous years at Illinois, regular season-wise. Ranked as high as second in the country at Illinois. Great job. He's been at Kansas since 2003, so 23 years, roughly, by my math. And he's got a bunch of championships. So what do you win? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's conference. Sorry. A lot of conference championships. I knew that was too many championships. 1, 2 championships at Kansas and a bunch of Final Fours. Bill Self's been there a long time, and he does look tired. I have to admit, and it's easy for me to say a guy should step away, right? But Bill Self doesn't have a lot more to prove, I don't think, at Kansas, and it might be time for Bill Self to move on. How old is he? Probably older than I think. He's younger than me, 64. Maybe 63, maybe. Done a good job at Kansas. I mean, has he had any down seasons? I mean, what's his worst season? I mean, he got there and started winning right away. 24-9, 23-7. His worst, he's lost 10 games twice. 3 times. Yeah, he's been a little bit down the last few years, right? 23-11, 23. Well, 24-8 is a pretty good year. He last won the championship in 2022. That team was 30-6, wins the NCAA championship. Then he goes 24-8, 23-11, 21-13. This year's team is 22-9. Excuse me. Still a chance for a 10th loss in the tournament. So, also tremendous coach. I forgot about the 3 years he coached at Illinois. So funny. Time flies, man. 2002. Hank Gathers was 35 years ago. So I was 31 years old. Man. Seems like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Rob Cross versus James Wade. I'm guessing we're talking darts, I hope. Otherwise, I have no idea where we are. What else is going on here I've not talked about? Do we expect anything? Should I read and should I think? You know what I think of where's that article? We know what I think of Nick Saban, right? I think Nick Saban is the greatest coach in the history of college football. But yesterday, or Friday, I guess, at what did we call this here? I don't know what Saving College Sports Roundtable that the president had with its vice chairs were Marco Rubio, Randy Levine, and Ron DeSantis. I don't know that I want these guys to decide in the future of college sports, but Nick Saban was one of the first guys to speak at this tournament. Where's this comment? Former Alabama coach Nick Saban, sitting 2 seats to the left of the president, was the first to speak for the college space. Saban said his goal was to help prepare players for success in life and create an environment that would help them through personal development and academic support, and that became impossible to do in the system, and that's why he left. Basically, that's why he left. I think we need to come up with a system, and we obviously have to do that we obviously have to do that with the president's leadership and also Congress. Why do we need them to run college sports? Whether it's antitrust legislation or whatever it is, to allow student athletes in all sports, including women and Olympic sports, to enhance the quality of life while going to college, but still provide opportunity to advance themselves beyond their athletic career, which is what the philosophy of college athletics and getting a college education has always been about. And how much does anybody talk about getting an education anymore? Nobody talks about it, which is the most important thing any of these student athletes can do in terms of enhancing the future. Urban Meyer spoke and said, it's imperative. Part of the solution is to get rid of collectives. That's cheating. Donors put money in a pot that's distributed to the players through coaches and managers. That's not allowed. It is now. You know, the NCAA created this mess, and I don't know. Listen, I've said this for a long time. It's not necessarily a coach's job to. I've said a coach's job is to prepare young men for life. And if getting them into the NFL or the NBA or whatever is part of that plan, well, then good. And I do think a lot of coaches have stuck to that. But I think there's also, you know, a little hypocrisy here. Because also somebody said, I think it was Meyer. Where's that comment? Somebody said, somebody said, you know, it's not about the coaches, it's about the players. I'm sorry. The coaches are also for the coaches. When you're there, you know, working, getting yourself paid $10 or $12 million a year, well, then guess what? You have some incentive to also get the best players and also be most concerned about the results on the field and not necessarily their future endeavors. And I think Nick Saban and again, his players will all speak very highly of him, and I hope that he really did try to uphold the standard that he just talked about. But I think it's probably not the norm today in major college athletics that these coaches are most concerned about the future of their players. They should be. That's what sports really should be about. Scholastic sports should be about excellence, number one. Yes, I want to see teams win. You want to see the teams you root for win. Coaches want to win. Coaches have to win or they get fired. But sports has always been a great place to learn about life. The good and the bad. And I want coaches to be builders of young men and their characters. I don't know if I see that. I don't know. When I'm seeing, again, I don't mean to pick on Georgia, but again, in the last couple of weeks, we got two guys who are just driving like maniacs. What are we doing to look out for these kids? And giving them money to buy fast cars and fast women? And do I want the government involved in this? Nothing's going to come of this. I don't know. Maybe it's me. My short on Guidry was nice. I only saw him in the early 80s. What a pitcher. I've been trying to do, but I loved, by the early 80s, he was still a really good pitcher. 1978 is the greatest season I've seen by a pitcher ever. And those shorts, by the way, I've been trying to clip out. So StreamYard's got a new AI feature where they'll generate some shorts from your show. So I've been trying to pick out some of these 30-second and 1 minute things from the shows, and tremendous result of views, and hopefully driving more subscribers. So thank you, Matt. Saban was very disappointing in bringing in the political crap. Yeah, I agree. I don't understand why these college coaches, it's almost universal with these guys, Danny. These guys seem to universally. My granddaughter got at my glasses again yesterday. Either my head's crooked or my glasses are crooked, and it drives me nuts. Almost universally, these coaches keep calling for Congress to do something. I don't want this Congress involved in sports. I understand they have been in the past antitrust legislations and this type of thing. But look at the circus the steroid freaking thing turned into with Congress involved. Jesus Christ. Harbaugh's not in the group. Some of the guys that were there were very interesting. I had the whole list at one point. Ted Cruz was there. Texas billionaire booster Cody Campbell was there. There were a bunch of, I think all the major conference commissioners were there. Presidents, whatever that we call them. Here's the thing. If you're going to have this type of summit, which I guess if you're brainstorming, again, I get it. Brainstorm, look for ideas, look for common ground. Well, looking for common ground, there's one piece missing. And listen, I know the student athletes are making up. There's no student athletes involved in this conversation at all. Because what's going to happen? You know what's going to come of this? You know, I know what's going to come of this. Is that he's going to listen to all these ideas. He's going to put out some all-expansive, all-encompassing executive order, and there'll be lawsuits up the yazoo. Because we don't sue for enough stuff in college football. We sue so that we can move. We've signed basically a contract with one program and decide we want to move to another, and there's a lawsuit to get money back. There's lawsuits so kids can stay in school. By the way, news today, Trinidad Chambliss, the NCAA is filing an appeal that he shouldn't be able to play. So they're judge shopping now, the NCAA and Trinidad Chambliss. They're finding, again, like same thing that we do in the world of politics. we judge shop and look for ones that will be favorable to us and get a new ruling. Trinidad Chambliss may still be in the NFL draft. So anyway, we sue to stay in school. We sue to get out of school. I don't know where we're heading towards a collective bargaining situation. I mean, I just don't see how I don't want the government involved in college sports. The thing's screwed up enough. Ugh. So, no, Harbaugh's not in the group. I don't know if that's a good joke or not. I got to ask you guys about humor. I don't know what I should. Do you guys enjoy the humor in the shows, whether it's this show or our roundtable shows? We had a conversation about it a little bit, and I wondered whether it was something. I enjoy having fun and laughing and joking and making jokes during the course of the show, and I think that sets us apart a little bit from some of the other shows that I see where guys are just kind of, monotonely rambling on about whatever, which I probably fall in that mode sometimes, but I like to have fun and joke. And when I'm with a group of guys, we joke. I get on these shows. I'm just looking, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong here. I'm not, so if anybody sees this, it might've been on one side of this conversation or the other. And it was just a conversation. It wasn't anything, a debate or, shit, I forgot what I was going to say now. I think on the roundtable shows, I like to approach them like a group of guys who are sitting at a bar talking about sports. And you're going to say a lot of funny shit. Oh, excuse me. You're going to say a lot of funny stuff when you're talking sports at a bar with a bunch of guys. And I think that's the way I approach my appearances on the roundtable shows and even my shows. And again, I don't know. I don't know whether I'm looking for an opinion or just talking it out in my own head. I don't want to be frivolous either, right? But I think the humor that I try to bring is in the context of sports or having some good fun busting my colleagues and vice versa. So I think it brings something to the shows. I don't think anybody, if you want to just sit and watch guys talk, you can turn on ESPN any time of the day and watch guys take themselves way too freaking seriously. One thing I don't do is take myself that seriously. I may sound like I do sometimes, but I promise you I do not. Anyway, it's just something I thought I'd throw out there real quick because it was on the top of my head. Pettit coaching for USA. He's been, well, I guess he could have found. Here's the thing with the WBC, by the way. You can seem to find, like, if you had an ancestor that was taken, I don't know, your father was in the Army and had a child in, Korea. You can go play for Korea. Austin Wells is playing for Panama, I think. I don't know what the connection is. Maybe it's something simple and I'm missing it, right? But I think they play pretty fast and loose with where guys can go play if they aren't good enough to play with the USA. But I knew Pettit was coaching, pitching coach for the USA for sure. Humor is good, no doubt, if it's in good taste. I'll be the first to admit, by the way, my humor is not always in good taste. Because there's nothing I can't find humor in. Well, I suppose there's a couple things. But funny's funny to me, and, people can say things, if it's against something where my beliefs are in sports or politics or life in general, it really doesn't matter. If it's funny, right? Like comedians. I love guys who are, a lot of their messages are not the way I would go, but I find them funnier than hell. Stephen Colbert, I find him funny. I certainly don't agree with a lot of his stances on things, but I find him funny. Bill Maher, I find him funny. Although at least Bill Maher is a little bit more equal opportunity comedian than maybe Stephen Colbert. But I find some of these guys funny, and even some of the stuff that diametrically opposes what I might believe about a certain topic or person. I find funny. Funny's funny. I guess good taste is in the eye of the beholder a lot of times too, right? So I don't go out of my way to offend people, but people get offended. No beer and nachos. It's hot chocolate, coffee. Sunday mornings turned into, so I have a cup before the show gets started. I find a way to get 2 cups during the show. I'm glad you enjoy. I enjoy doing it, man. I'm here to have fun, not just, talk, seriously about sports every 2 seconds. I talk serious. We talk a lot of serious stuff, but you can find humor in serious topics as well. This whole thing with college football, very serious to me. I'm going to lose the sport I love. Good morning, Donna. Donna checking in late. How many people forgot there was a time change last night? Anybody? I've done it. I didn't do it last night, but I didn't get to bed till late. I was watching the USA game till, I don't know, I guess I got over 11, which was like 12. And then I watched some news. So it was like 12 o'clock when I went to bed, but then I realized as I'm getting to bed, I'm like, crap, it's 1. Anyway. Good morning, Donna. Good to have you with us. We got a few minutes left. What's on your mind today, Donna? We talked about a lot of stuff this morning. We've been all over the map as usual on the show. Lots of fun. It'll be interesting to see the clips that come from here. If you guys can do me a favor, all of you, share the clips. If you don't have friends you think would watch a 2-hour show or a 1-hour show, whatever I might be doing, share the clips. If you find one you like, share it. If it's funny, if it's, you think I'm being a totally total idiot and moron, you can share it for that reason. But share some of them. I want to see what we can drive with these clips. I've been told for a long time, get clips out there, get shorter clips of some of your shows, and gee, it's so hard to sit here and do it. Now I got AI that does it for me, and it's done a really good job of pulling some shorts out. And I didn't start it until I think Wednesday night. And if you think there's too many, tell me, and we'll do that. But they've generated a bunch of views, so no shares. So I go, and I think it's generated more shares for the shows. What I'm trying to do is get people to share the clips, and then come and follow the show, or follow the page. YouTube and CA and I will be talking more about enhancing our YouTube presence. I started doing it there, CA, and what's interesting is I've got 1,000 views on some of those 30-second clips where the shows get 5. So people probably see, oh shit, that's 2. I said it again. That's 2 hours. I don't feel like investing, even though you can fast forward and watch the parts that you like, I guess. But you put a 30 or 45-second clip up. And it's not just, it's all the content that's within the shows. So hopefully that will drive more interest in the shows and more subscribers. So I'm sure, CA, probably something you would have shared with me anyway. And I'm coming out in front of, what happened here? I'll come back to you in a second, Donna. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Greg Minton, nicknamed Mooney, was known as a practical joker on every team he played for. He was a decent major league pitcher. Just got out of hospital. I hope you're okay, Donna. So you slept late. Hope there's nothing serious. And we wish you a speedy recovery in whatever it is. Not trying to pry. Just hope you're doing well. It's a tell if you can't see the humor in What About Bob? I find that show that movie is so funny. My father's name is Bob. We used to always say that. What about Bob? We use that line forever. Making fun of the fakeness of the mental health industry, both doctors and clients. See, there's humor everywhere. ESPN just had a feature on Audie Crooks, your favorite player in college in any sport. Really? Should I know who Audie Crooks is? Because it's not ringing a bell right now. Oh, Audie Crooks. Yeah, for the Cyclones. I saw a story, maybe it was on ESPN somewhere. I did see that. I did see her. The name didn't ring a bell, but obviously once I got her page up, I realized who we're talking about. She is a very interesting character for sure. I'll have to go back and look at that. Oh, Donna, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you are doing okay now and you're going to be okay. You got to take care of yourself. We want all of our people to be healthy and happy, and we hope that you've got good care there. I'm sure your husband's taking good care of you, and hope you've got good support around you, and we do hope you're going to be better, and we're glad to see you. We'll send lots of positive energy your way, which is about all I can do to help you out in your situation. But you'll certainly feel, I hope, that positive chi coming from upstate New York here these next few days. So feel much better, please. Good stuff. So Audie Crooks is a senior, by the way, I believe, at Iowa State, basketball player. How'd she do the other night? 21 points in 30 minutes, 7 rebounds. She's a big girl. How tall is she? Let me get a little 6'3". She's a mountain girl. She'll be playing in the WNBA if the WNBA doesn't go away. Hello, Patty Blyleven. I see Patty liking or loving the show here today. Good. Thank you for that. Tanya Sharma, thank you. Arjun, Robert Taylor. Check out Robert Taylor. Sorry, one of my favorite actors from back before I was born. Robert Butler, the best dressed man in podcasting from Sports Scopes. Check out his stuff. Rava Kumar, welcome. Guessing so a couple of these guys I'll get messages from. Brian Barnett. Good morning, Brian. I hope you're doing well, my friend. And send a lot of positive energy your way these last couple of years as well. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Don't hesitate to ever comment and have some fun on the show. So thanks for popping in this morning, Brian. We only got a couple minutes left. Check out tomorrow. We'll be on at 8 a.m. Live. Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. Check us out then. Coming this week, obviously, we've got the Sports Huddle, College Sports Huddle on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be on the McGrath Podcast Network Roundtable, the Unprofessional Professional show before that. Friday's edition of Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook, the MLB update, and of course we'll be back next week on Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. Lots of good stuff coming up. You're welcome, Donna. There'll be lots of good stuff coming your way. Lots of good positive thoughts coming your way. So it's a big week in college basketball, obviously with the conference tournament starting. So we'll have all that to talk about on Wednesday night. Heading towards the weekend where we have Selection Sunday. And we'll see whether we're mad about St. Louis, Neil, or we're mad about Miami of Ohio, which I think is now safe. We'll see what happens. We're going to have a madcap Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, especially Wednesday, in the NFL as free agency opens. And, tomorrow, I believe the legal tampering window opens where you can actually talk to players. It's so ridiculous. You're telling me they came to terms with these guys in a couple of days? They've been talking to these guys since the day the season opened, or ended. So we'll have all that to talk about. We'll see what happens with the sports, college sports, future college sports committee roundup, and see what kind of recommendations come from that in the ensuing lawsuits. We'll also have more by the time we get to Friday. We'll have a pretty good idea where we stand in the WBC as far as pool play ending and getting into the meat of this thing. 5 a.m. is coming early tomorrow as I adjust to this time change. I love this time change real quick. We got about 1 minute, 2 minutes, but this is my favorite day. Even though I'm tired, a couple days adjusting to the time. It being light until 7 o'clock at night, and then 7:10 and 7:20 and 7:45, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. That's when I'm in my happy place. I hate dark. Good to have you with us. CA, thank you, my friend. Mama Howard doesn't get in with one loss, it would be considered worst travesty. Yeah, I would buy that. Right with it, Danny. They're getting in. I think they're off the bubble now. They finished if they hadn't finished the regular season undefeated, I think they would have looked for a way to get them out. But they win in overtime against Ohio. They're not even the betting favorite in their conference tournament. Akron is actually. He's had a great regular season as well. But I think it's a great story. If Miami comes out of this undefeated, I think it's a great story heading into the NCAA tournament. I don't care if they go in the first round and lose by 20. I want to see what they're made of. Bet the over. Guys, have a great Sunday. Whatever you do, stay safe, stay happy, healthy. Donna, we wish you nothing but the best. Anybody else out there struggling health-wise or otherwise, let us know. We're sending positive energy your way. And your loved ones, whoever it might be well, be safe, lean on people, have people in your life to lean on. And we wish you nothing but the best. And if we can give you a few minutes to kind of laugh and shake your head on a Sunday morning, we're happy that we did that. And I love your participation. You guys give me the energy to keep doing this week after week, day after day. Have a lot of fun, and I'm going to continue to do it as long as I am. So you guys have a great week. Did you guys hear? You're going to get the outro anyway for Graph Podcast Network. So have a great day. Bye, guys. Keith Engle for Sunday Stream of Consciousness.